Hey there, I have a tone experiment for you that can make anything that you play on your guitar just sound a little bit better. And so how will it sound better? Well, you can hear it and you can make it sound better. So classical guitar tone is a big study. Like we spend a lot of times, we fuss with our nails and we really nitpick around all these different things and the different types of strings on the different guitars. And we can really get fussy with all of this, but we don't have to, because there are a few levers that you can pull, little ways that you can play with the sound, and then you can find what sounds best right now with your nails or not nails, or your strings with your guitar, steel string, electric, classical guitar. This is going to be more pronounced on classical probably, but it still will work. This experiment will still work for you on the other types of guitars as well. But really quick, before we get into the experiment, let me just direct your attention down to the description. You will find a link that you can go there and you can download a book of 30 wonderful pieces arranged for the classical guitar. They're very fun, charismatic pieces, and you can just enjoy those. If you need something new in your playing, it's got tabs and it's got regular notation, so you can dig right in. And with that, let's get to this experiment. All right, step number one for our tone experiment. First thing you're gonna do is sit however you sit, whatever it's like, however you sit, just do your normal thing and just play. And so don't even think about it. Pick up your guitar and just start playing with your right hand. And then look down at your right hand, move your head, look down at it, and then notice what you see. And for this first question we'll ask is, where exactly are you playing between this bridge way back here and the neck, and where the body meets the neck? Just where in this area are you playing, right? That's our first question. And just notice it. You could be back here, that's perfectly fine. You could be way up here, that's perfectly fine. Just notice where you're playing. So that is your default spot. That's your autopilot right now. Whenever you play, that's where you play. For a long time, I played really far down here. I tried to play here, but then I would actually, as I got nervous, my shoulder would rise and my hand would go down here. I know other people who just always play down here. So just notice where you're at. Then we can actually experiment with it. So now we can move this lever up and down. So first off, playing again just wherever you play, move it all the way up to the neck, all the way up above the strings even, or above the frets rather even. And just notice how the sound changes. It should sound a little bit warmer, a little fatter maybe, a little woollier. You can really exaggerate this to see by going all the way over the strings. It gets a little excessive up here, but you can do it. Then we're going to move down by the bridge. And then notice the sound there. It's probably more tinny, more metallic. It's going to be a little sharper attack. So the very beginning of the note will be ding. It'll really be a sharper attack. And then you can just move back and forth. Here we have this blooming ba-da-da, and then you go back here, da-da-da, more like a harpsichord. And so play with that. That's one of your tone knobs. The best sound is probably going to be somewhere around the sound hole, as far as like a utilitarian all-purpose sound. Typically the back half of the sound hole, right in this area, is going to be a very nice go-to because it'll be warm, but it'll still have some punch as well. So we're kind of splitting the difference there. Next part of this experiment is to go back to your default, shake it out, go back to your default spot, and just play again. Now look down and notice the angle at which you're playing through the strings. Is it at an angle like this, like a 45-degree angle, or even steeper angle? Is it straight across? How are you actually playing it? And so then that's what you need to just notice. Don't need to change anything about it. There's no good or bad here. There's just what's your default, what's your autopilot. Notice that. Then shake it out again. Go back to your default again, and now we're just going to play with varying this angle. So we've got this angle that we can go straight across, and we can see what that sounds like. Bright, punchy. And then we can turn that angle and go more so that our fingers are moving through the strings at an angle. And just listen to the difference there. And the more of an angle you do, the fatter and woollier it's going to sound. You can go all the way to where you're almost straight across the strings playing them. And there's not going to be very much sharp attack at the very beginning when you do that. It'll be more like vroom, vroom, vroom. You'll probably hear your nails scraping on the strings. But very warm, very warm. And so this is a tone knob that you can play with. You can go straight across and just increase the angle and then go back and just go back and forth and listen to it and practice just going back and forth, just getting comfortable moving that little lever. Great. Step 3, are you ready? Is that we're going to combine these two levers. We're going to play with the angle at which we play through the strings, and we're going to play with the position on the guitar. And so we're going to play with those in combination. So we're going to, first off, we're going to go straight across the strings, and we're going to move up over the neck. Very interesting sound here. It's a little warm, but there's still a very bright attack to it. And the attack is just that very first bit, the very first millisecond when it plays. And then we're just going to move that, slide it down, all the way down to by the bridge. The bridge is just where the strings end. Very bright and metallic down there, doing it this way. And then we'll move it back, and then just play with it, moving back and forth. It's like turning a tone knob. So now we're going to do the exact opposite angle, but we're still going to move up here. So a very severe angle, and then we can move over the strings. It's about as warm as it gets there. And then we can move that all the way back here. A little bit more thud at the beginning, but a very bright, it's a really interesting sound. It's very bright, but it still has some meat to it because you got some fingertip going in there as well. And you don't need nails to do this, and you don't need nails to hear the difference in your playing, but it will be more exaggerated if you do have some fingernails. So these are our two tone knobs. So we can choose where to play, and then we can just vary this other factor. Then you can put this into a piece of music or the scale that you're working on or any sort of thing that you actually want to play. You can then ask, what kind of tone would be really nice for this? And it might not be the same through the whole piece. It could be like a few notes. We want to actually get really bright on those notes. And then we want to get really rich and full with some other part, like a melody. So this is the wonderful world of classical guitar tone, and it's something that you can do right now. You can play with it. You don't need to be any more advanced than you already are. And if you already know all this is old hat, then the question is, are you using this in your music as much as you could? Are there places where you're just not thinking about the tone and you're just going on autopilot? Could you bring some of this tonal variation to that? Could you listen to that melody note and really get it as warm as you possibly could? Or could you have a contrasting section that was more bright and punchy and metallic? So all kind of options abound. As you play more and more advanced music, you can just add more and more of this type of decision making to it. So I hope you have enjoyed this classical guitar tone experiment. You can play with it. You can play with it up and down. Chances are it's going to feel funny if you're not used to moving like this. Then it will feel funny at first. Perfectly fine. It's okay to feel funny. That you can just keep doing it a little bit in your practice as you're playing your scales or whatever. And pretty soon it will be completely comfortable for you. All right. Again, look down below. You can find a big book of 30 pieces that you can play on your guitar. It's very fun for just sight reading or to have something new to work on if you ever need a change of pace. And the link for that is in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Have lovely practice. I'll see you soon.